scab for the bosses, don't listen to their lies. Us poor folks haven't got a chance unless we organize. Which side are you on?
Taylor, I feel like one of your other things that's like a notable about Taylor that you always say is how you used to work at TJ Maxx.
I did, yeah. I gather all of my life experiences, and that's what I pull all my stories from. So
exactly.
It's like, oh, when I worked at TJ Maxx, when I taught preschool, when I
played hockey.
Just insert blank, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, good times. I used to work at Taco Bell too. That's
right.
Thing, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Taco Bell. My first ever job, little known Taylor lore, is I actually worked at a cabinetry shop.
Oh, see, I did not know this.
I wasn't like making cabinets because I wasn't 18, so I couldn't like operate the big machinery, or like use power tools safely, or like I guess the dude that owned it just didn't want me to.
Sure.
So I basically ran this machine where I'd like put a piece of wood on this machine, like belt it down, and then go to this computer screen thing and then like push a button and it would like cut out these sections of wood that we needed. And then I'd take the wood and move it somewhere else and then keep doing that for like, I don't know, 4 hours a day. It was good.
Just like Jesus Christ used to do.
Just like Jesus. And that man's name was Jesus
Christ.
Oh, good stuff.
My first job ever was a really shitty salon. But then I worked I had like a retail job at like a thrift store, and then I was a receptionist at a nail salon for a while. Those are my like non-career jobs that I had for a little bit.
I mean, you don't work there anymore. We can drop Pibs in the chat.
That's true, yeah. I used to work at Pibs Exchange for all my Salt Lake locals.
Yeah, if you're a local, go check out Pibs Exchange, I guess.
Yeah, they got cool stuff.
I like shopping there.
I enjoy shopping there.
Yeah.
Working there was all right.
Just all right.
That's what I have to say.
That's how I feel. It's like,
I mean, it's retail, so it's
bad.
Not going to be good.
Yeah. It's the same with like TJ Maxx. Like I still love going to TJ Maxx.
Of course. Who doesn't?
Go on shopping sprees there all the time. But working there was fine.
Yeah. It was fine.
It was pretty whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Pretty all right.
This is I'm Remarks. This is the Phoebe podcast.
Yes.
And
hosted
by you, Taylor.
Not name dropping your last name.
Last name redacted. No, but this is Remarks.
God, this is Remarks.
It's the podcast that we do. Yeah. That we fuck every week.
Every single week we brain blast you with some information.
True. It is, I mean, yeah, we are having, as I once put it, intellectual intercourse with your ears.
Absolutely.
That's what you come here for, yeah.
Open wide.
Do you want to tell us what we're talking about and take it away?
Hell yeah. So we are talking about the military entertainment complex today.
Woo.
Which we alluded to a little bit in the last couple of episodes.
True.
We're about to take you on that motherfucking journey today. So I'm going to talk to you about the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oof.
Yeah. Big oof.
My least favorite of the cinematic universes.
Agreed.
My most favorite is the Nickelodeon Cinematic Universe, personally.
Oh, we know.
Because that shit all ties together. It's insane.
It is absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, one of the largest and most well-known franchises in our country, and even throughout the world, is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Mm-hmm. This shit includes the Avengers movie, Spider-Man, the Hulk, Black Widow, Guardians of the Galaxy, etc., and of course, Captain America.
Oh shit.
Yup. It's a massive franchise raking in billions of dollars and bringing hundreds of thousands into the theaters with every new release. Sure, Marvel makes fun superhero movies that are cinematic explosions with exciting fight scenes, giant robots, fancy cars, magical people, what have you.
Some eye candy in there.
Some sexy boys.
And girls.
That's true.
Scarlett Johansson's sexy.
She is sexy.
Yeah.
She's way sexy. That other girl too.
Which one?
The Scarlet Witch girl. Wanda.
Oh, yeah.
She's pretty hot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, even Captain Marvel, pretty hot.
Yeah, she's cute. She's attractive. But what else are these movies? What sort of messages are they sneaking in along with all the cool weapons and superhero powers? Marvel is among some of America's greatest weapons, using subtle military propaganda incepted in a heroic and powerful way. It encourages viewers to join the American forces so they too can feel like one of the Avengers. And these movies are something that almost the entire American public is deeply engrossed in, pouring into the theaters every time a new installment is released, and even worse, they bring their young, impressionable children along. The most obvious propaganda movies in the franchise are the Captain America movies. It's literally right there in the name.
That's kind of his name.
Straight up Captain America.
Yeah. Hey, listeners, listen to this. Ooh, crisp.
Crispy. Crispy.
Anyway.
The premise of the first Captain America follows Steve Rogers and his friend Bucky Barnes. Steve desperately wants to join the military to help fight in World War II, but he's a scrawny little soy boy, so he's turned down.
He's beta as fuck in that movie.
He's beta cucked. Bucky, however, is accepted. Later, Steve is coerced to undergo an experimental procedure where he is injected with something literally called super soldier serum that makes him super swole and now worth the military's time. When Steve's friend Bucky sees him for the first time after getting the super soldier injection, he asks, "What happened to you?" And Steve literally replies, "I joined the army."
That's good.
Like, straight up, that's
the pinnacle. Yeah, you can't beat that.
No. Suggesting that joining the military is what has made Steve into a big, strong beefcake man. The U.S. military provided financial support. They allowed Marvel to film at base camps and allowed Marvel to borrow military equipment for free. In exchange, the military helped to design Captain America's character, being sure that he, quote, possessed the values of today's modern soldier. Throughout the movie, it shows the U.S. military working together along with the new powerful Captain America to kick some Nazi asses. And the entire time, Steve, aka Captain America, is wearing a suit decorated in stars and stripes, and he carries a shield with an American flag-like design on it.
Which I always thought was kind of, like, weird that he just has a shield. Like, I mean, I know the shield's, like, super strong, but, like, why don't you have, like, I don't know, a gun? Or, like, a sword, at least?
Bulletproof vest, maybe?
Yeah, like,
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know the inner machinations of, like, how Captain America's shield works, but
True.
Like, you can throw it and hit people.
Yeah.
But again, that seems a little bit outdated compared to, like, literal firearms.
Yeah, like, there was guns in World War II.
Yeah, and a lot of people used them.
Plenty of guns.
Like, an insane amount of guns.
Like, maybe the most guns you've ever seen. And even on the original cover for the Captain America comic, Captain America is shown punching Hitler in the face.
Oh, jeez. That's sick, though.
It is kind of fucking sick, to be honest.
Like, the propaganda's bad, but again, it's like, I mean, might talk about it a little bit in mine, too, but it's like, it's like not hard to look good when you're fighting the Nazis,
right?
You know,
exactly.
like, you're gonna look good no matter what.
Exactly. Well, and it's like when that's the only part you talk about when you're making a movie about World War II, then it's like, well, yeah, obviously, the fucking hero. You're killing Nazis.
It's like they're the worst things.
It's
the
bad guy.
Yeah.
Oh God. In the next installment of the Captain America branch of the MCU, called The Winter Soldier, the propaganda continues, portraying military veterans as dudes who are just, like, ready to jump back into the fight, and not as people the United States ignores and leaves homeless and without health care.
Yeah.
Woof. They even portray one of the veteran characters to have PTSD, which it surprised me that the military would be open to admitting that they could, like, mentally scar people. But the portrayal of the PTSD is shown as something which makes this character stronger and something that the military treats and helps with, which, as we all know, is rarely the truth.
It's not true. Yeah, it's definitely got to be like an overcoming PTSD kind of like story, you know? Like, yeah, you might be scarred, but you can still, you know, do amazing things, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah. Like, he became stronger because of this.
Exactly.
So it's okay.
So it's fine. We actually helped him.
Yeah. If your dad's like really fucked up from what he did in the military, it actually just means he's like really cool.
Actually, it just is like, yeah, it's like God gives his biggest battles to his toughest little guys.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Another huge pro-military MCU film was Iron Man. I think there was 2. Tony Stark is a billionaire who made his money literally from selling weapons to the U.S. military that they used to fuck up the Middle East. In the movie, after he creates his Iron Man suit, he goes over to the Middle East to help the military fuck them up some more. Throughout this movie, the people of the Middle East are portrayed as terrorists and like scary, scary brown people that wear turbans, which is typical of any American movie where the Middle East is portrayed, pretty much.
Yeah. Especially, when did that movie come out?
Good question. I don't know.
I can look it up.
I
really
think
quick,
early
but
2000s. I
was gonna say. I feel like in the early 2000s. You were talking the first Iron Man movie. Let's see.
Yeah, they were like, let's try and put out as much like, hey, the Middle East is bad type of shit, so that we'd never question the war in Iraq at all.
2008. So yeah, right around that, right around that time.
Solid.
Classic.
This brings us, of course, to the overtly propagandized wet dream of the Air Force film, Captain Marvel.
Oh, geez.
Oh my God. Was this movie just a 2-hour and 4-minute commercial on the Air Force? Like,
have you seen it?
I have seen it,
oh,
yeah.
Wow. Do you watch like the superhero movies often?
No, not really. I'll go every once in a while. I feel like I saw this with someone. Either I was like with my parents or I was with like a friend's parents or something. I don't remember, but no, I don't really go to see them that much.
Yeah, I've only ever seen them like with other people, and I think the last one I saw was Ant-Man 2.
Ant-Man 2.
Which I mean, I only like those ones because I love Paul Rudd.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
Paul Rudd is daddy for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Love the mans.
Love the man. Yeah. And he was in Friends, which I respect.
Was he?
He was in Friends. He was Phoebe's boyfriend towards the end.
Oh no shit.
Not you, Phoebe, but maybe you, Phoebe.
Paul, you listening? Yeah, I feel like I used to like date people that were like into it.
Yeah.
And so I'd like go see them, and like definitely when I was like younger, like in, I don't know, in school and everything, like I felt like if you didn't watch them, you were like weird.
Yeah, I don't know, and I kind of feel like too it is interesting how they did like tie all the movies together and made that like cinematic universe.
That's
like,
cool.
Yeah, like the concept's cool. I just don't like the stories because I think they're boring most of the time, and they're all the same. But like
they are all the exact same.
Yeah, but like I mean I don't know, like the concept's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely say Captain Marvel was bad. It was like really bad. It was like for sure like complete overt propaganda, and then like some weird random shit with like aliens all of a sudden were like a thing, and that didn't really make sense, and I feel like they didn't really do that part of the plot very well. And then also it was so queerbaity.
Oh yeah,
because her with the other chick, it was like seemed like they were gonna be like gay together, but then they weren't. And
and that was like everybody said that about like Captain America too with Bucky.
Oh
friend.
Yeah,
he
that's
was,
right.
Like, hella queer-baited.
Yeah.
But
which is some bullshit.
I mean,
like don't put your queer baiting into your propaganda. In the U.S. military, that literally like just barely let people say out loud that they're gay 10 years ago.
That's what I'm saying. Like 2008 when that movie released. Like, are you kidding me?
God.
Yeah.
Woof. Yeah, so this fucking movie. Captain Marvel. So one of the main plot points of this movie is that Carol Danvers / Captain Marvel is a strong girl power ass member of the Air Force.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, like that was like one of the main things.
Yeah.
Ever of the whole movie was just she's in the Air Force.
Yeah, you can be a girl boss and still commit war crimes.
Exactly.
Is what they're saying.
Exactly. The promotion for this movie was all very much centered around Captain Marvel's place in the Air Force and the amazing things that she had accomplished while in the Air Force, despite one of the other largest plot points in this movie being the fact that she's actually a fucking alien.
Oh.
But I digress. This movie being lauded as a win for feminists was actually a huge win for the Air Force, getting an increase in female recruits and a huge pat on the back for not being sexist, despite the fact that sexual assaults in the U.S. Air Force are still not addressed and are typically pushed under the rug by higher-ups or even result in the victims receiving threats to not report.
Yeah.
Which they
terrible.
Still have never addressed.
That's the military. You did a whole fucking thing about it, in the Don't Ask, Don't Tell episode.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Fucking. In a promotional video released by Marvel Entertainment, the lead actress in Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, is seen interacting with female Air Force members, boarding Air Force planes, and says about her character, Carol Danvers / Captain Marvel, she says, quote, "The core of her is the Air Force."
Wow.
Oh.
That one, that's even more so, like, propaganda-y than, like, some of the other ones.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, obviously, like, all superheroes have different origin stories, but, like, you know, because, again, the ones I've seen the most of are, like, the Ant-Man and, like, fucking Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess. And those ones, they're, like, anti-establishment, because they're, like, and, like, even the Ant-Man, he's kind of, like, at first, like, he's, like, a deadbeat dad, but then he, like, gets his powers, and then he, like, saves the world, and then he's, like, a good dad, you know? Like, it's not, like, he's not, like, part of the military or anything.
Yeah.
Know?
Like, hers was, like, literally, and I feel like even, like, with, like, Captain America, well, I guess he was in the military, but then, like, with the Avengers, it's kind of this, like, quasi-military team that it's, like, obviously that's kind of what they're trying to model, but it's not, like, I am in the military. But literally, Captain Marvel was like, no, she's sick because she's in the Air Force.
Like, like, she's this badass Air Force pilot first, and then she becomes Captain Marvel.
And then she's, like, an alien or whatever. Whatever about that part. But, you guys, she's in the Air Force.
Definitely in the Air Force. Don't get us wrong.
Oh, God. The Air Force provided financial support, prop support, and promotional. Not emotional.
I was like, has the Air Force emotionally supported anyone ever?
Fuck no. Promotional support to Captain Marvel, really putting their whole Air Force-y into it.
As one does.
The Air Force was putting out promotional videos and photos for Captain Marvel before they had even started filming this movie. The Air Force allowed Marvel access to film on Edwards Air Force Base. They provided all the aircrafts for the film. They provided costuming and even actual Air Force members as background characters. On the day, it's so unhinged. On the day, get ready because this is crazy.
All right.
On the day the movie premiered, the Air Force flew F-15s over Disneyland and over the red carpet event.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I was just thinking when, like, they put, like, actual Air Force members, like, in the movie, I was like, well, at least we didn't culturally appropriate the Air Force. Like, they used actual Air Force members. Yeah. Anyway.
As well as at the premiere event for Captain Marvel, actual Air Force service members were being interviewed on the red carpet.
Wow, okay.
Like, can you spell propaganda? Like, that is so...
Yeah, that's crazy. That's so weird. They're like, what can you tell us about this movie? And they're like...
Air Force.
I'm just in the Air Force. I don't know.
So what went into writing Captain Marvel? I'm in the Air Force.
Plane go zoom.
Plane go up. Yeah, this was definitely so blatant, and I don't even feel like they tried to hide it at all.
No, definitely not.
Task and Purpose, which is a military website, called Captain Marvel, quote, the recruiting tool of the Air Force's dreams.
Oh my gosh. That's just, yeah. Well, and that's the thing, too, is like, because again, I'll get into some of it in mind, but like, we're so pro-military nowadays that, like, they don't even have to hide propaganda.
Yeah, right.
Like, they can just say, like, yeah, this is a recruiting tool. Because we're just, like, most, like, of the public is just like, yeah, that's just, like, what it is. Like,
that's what happens when you go to the movies. You see a 2-hour recruitment video.
Exactly. Like, it's like, oh, like, they're in our fucking high schools recruiting kids. Like, that's not, like, movies are the least of our concerns. Like...
Literally.
Yeah, literally. It's insane.
Oh my god. Along with the release of the film, the Air Force created their own little film called Every Hero Has an Origin Story. This short film follows the lives of female Air Force pilots, how they got into the Air Force, and how essentially the Air Force is their greatest accomplishment. These videos aired in movie theaters before showings of Captain Marvel, as well as just outright commercials for the Air Force aired before, which they do pretty much with any Marvel movie. They will show you some kind of military commercial before the movie starts, which I definitely, like, from all the Marvel movies I've gone to see, I can definitely remember always there being a military commercial beforehand.
Yeah. Weird.
It's very weird. Jacob Chisholm, who is the Deputy Chief of Strategic Marketing for the Air Force, said of the Air Force's involvement in Captain Marvel and the commercials airing before the movie, quote, "It was a huge success. We had a fantastic media campaign."
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just, again, it's just so blatant that, like, it's obviously, like, again, it's like, it's propaganda, but it's just like, we just have accepted it as just like fact. So I
exactly.
don't know.
Yeah. Like, they can outright call it, like, they can say the movie Captain Marvel was a media campaign for us, the Air Force.
And it's just like, everybody's like, oh yeah, that like makes sense. And not only does people are like, oh, that makes sense, people are like, oh, well, the Air Force is so great, the military is so great, they're all heroes, like, they like,
and it's like, why do you think you think that?
Yeah, exactly. They like support it, you know. It's not like, it's not seen as like even like bad but acceptable. It's like seen as a good thing.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
They're recruiting people. That's good.
Exactly. Like the like gimmick of them bringing active Air Force members onto the red carpet. It was probably like, oh, wow, like, that's so cool and sweet of them.
Exactly.
Instead of like, that's a fucking weird thing to do.
That's a weird thing, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God. You know who else is a fantastic media campaign?
For the U.S. Air Force.
For podcast distribution services.
I don't know. Who?
This ad you're about to hear.
Oh. Well, I'm excited.
Gee Willikers.
Gee Willigans. Wowee.
Oh, God.
Anyway. We're back. We are talking about how you can get drunk at any time of the day in an airport.
Yeah.
And no one cares.
Absolutely not.
They honestly, I was gonna say, it's kind of weird for you to not be drunk in an airport.
I would think.
Except unless you're in Utah, I guess. But, but like in Maryland, I felt like if I wasn't drunk, like they were gonna judge me and maybe beat me up.
It's like against the culture.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
We were on our way out of Salt Lake. I just went on a little trip, by the way, for everybody who doesn't know the Phoebe lore. On our way out of Salt Lake, we were sitting at the one singular bar that's in the Salt Lake airport.
Yeah.
And this guy was like so fucking drunk next to us. And what did he say? I can't even remember. But he's like, leans over, he's like, "Can I ask you a question?" Like talking to me and Daniel, and we were like, "What's up, dude?"
Yeah.
And it was like obvious he's just like probably travels a lot. Well, they literally knew him at that bar too, so I was like,
he travels a lot.
You're a lonely fella.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, like it is weird because I feel like airport culture is like as much of a joke as like we were joking about that. It is kind of a thing. Like people who travel a lot, like you can always tell like the people who travel all the time because they're just the no bullshit kind of people that are just like, please don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And then there's always like the really overly friendly like family that, you know, has like traveling for the first time in like 10 years.
Yep. They're like, oh gosh, like we're sorry, we don't get out often.
Yeah.
With
and
our
they,
10 kids.
Have a Wisconsin accent
Always,
for some reason. They're like, gee, I'm so sorry. Like, they're like, anyway.
We didn't know you couldn't bring giant gallons of water onto the airplane.
Yeah. Anyway.
Marvel movies. So, when the Deputy Chief of Strategic Marketing for the Air Force, Jacob Chisholm, was asked if the movie had helped to increase the amount of applicants for the Air Force. He said, quote, "Quite honestly, I think it's going to be one of those things that is going to take some time to show. Kind of the return on investment." Sorry, it's a woman. Sorry, Jacob. I said he. It's she. Anyway.
Oh.
Continuing the quote, "Because a lot of these people being inspired are kind of high school, college age, where we might not see that for a while later. We do have an increased number of women who want to be pilots, but I don't know if that's because of Captain Marvel. I don't know the why behind it." Which is a totally normal thing to say about a fucking superhero movie, but I guess you just couldn't help to spell it out right there, that this movie was a propaganda investment for you, where you literally said return on investment.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just using the term investment is kind of like, oh, so yeah, you are just trying to recruit people for the military. Like,
like that's why you did this.
Yeah, it's so gross. I don't know.
Which also, I don't know. She's like, oh, we don't know if it's because of Captain Marvel. It's like, yeah, you do.
You kind of do, because you did the movie because you knew that it would probably work. Like,
right? You wouldn't have like gone in on this, put like billions of dollars if you didn't think that it would be a good thing. Another quote from her says, "We're looking for what's going to follow this, but we're going to ride this wave for as long as we can."
Okay. Yeah.
Yikes.
It just is like, it's just kind of gross. I don't know. Again, like when you have like the view of like imperialist militaries that we do, it's just kind of like, ew.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're just so obvious about it.
Yeah. Following the release of Captain Marvel, the Air Force did see the largest increase in female applicants in over 5 years. In a quote from military.com, the Air Force once again admits in bold letters how this film was recruitment propaganda for young women. Quote, "The Air Force says it capitalized on the opportunity to work with the Captain Marvel filmmakers to showcase a leading female aviator, Danvers, who started out as a young trainee only to become a top-notch F-15 Eagle pilot and ultimately liberator of the universe."
Wow.
So they really said it. Like, it capitalized on the opportunity.
I love it. Yeah, it's like she was a pilot and then she kind of saved the universe. She was a pilot though. She was in
the Air Force.
She was in the Air Force.
If you didn't know.
And did you all know that Captain Marvel was actually in the Air Force?
The Air Force. I couldn't tell actually at all.
Yeah,
the whole movie I was like, what branch of the military?
She's some kind of soldier. Like, it's crazy.
And it's not just Captain Marvel who's received hella military bucks and been allowed to play with equipment in exchange for their souls. As I was mentioning before, Captain America received financial help and prop help from the military, with the Pentagon literally being involved in creating the Captain America character and having editing rights over the scripts. This granted Marvel access to film at Camp Edward, as well as borrowing military equipment. In the Iron Man movies, the military's involvement is obvious just based on the planes and weaponry alone. Many scenes throughout Iron Man feature large, expensive military planes, and with Tony Stark's literal job being a weapons salesman, you can guess where all of that weaponry came from.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I didn't realize he was just like an arms dealer.
Yeah, right.
Like Tony Stark's job.
I didn't either until I was reading through these articles.
Yeah, I guess I just thought he was like a inventor.
Yeah,
which I guess he is, but I didn't know he like sold military stuff. But again, makes sense.
Yep. Because of the super kind lending of sick planes and weapons from the military, the Pentagon once again had their hand in the script and even removed a line that alluded to military deaths or suicides. It was something like one military officer told another that people would, quote, kill themselves for the opportunities he has. And then, which, like, I don't know if it was exactly what they were saying with it, but the like advisor or whatever from the Pentagon got really, really upset about that, and so they ended up changing it to say walk over hot coals instead.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
and it's just, again, it's wild that you have to like check things off with the military, but again, if you're using their big massive arsenal of weapons, I guess that's like the trade-off. But
yeah. Another example of Pentagon script editing is with The Incredible Hulk. There had been references to the U.S. military using people as guinea pigs in chemical science experiments, which is something that they have actually done.
Oh, for sure.
And then there was also a reference to Operation Ranch Hand, which, if you'll remember from the Vietnam episodes, was when the U.S. military poured thousands of gallons of harmful pesticides over the Vietnam jungles, killing and poisoning the population, as well as the rivers, crops, and flora of Vietnam. The Pentagon obviously didn't want to have their precious little propaganda machines talking about these silly little war crimes that they committed.
Yeah.
So they purified the script to be only military positive.
Of course, because, yeah, I mean, the U.S. military, I'm pretty sure, is perfect.
And has
from what
never
I've heard.
done anything wrong.
Yeah,
ever.
no, never. Couldn't even think about. Like, wouldn't even think of it.
Absolutely not. Even in Marvel's newer releases on Disney Plus, like WandaVision, which was wildly successful, a huge cultural phenomenon, and you were basically a weirdo if you weren't watching it. WandaVision 2 was funded by the Pentagon, giving a special little shout out in the ending credits. This again means that all the military equipment in WandaVision was provided by the Pentagon, and by proxy, the script was edited and sanitized by the Pentagon. A quote from The Guardian sums up my feels about this pretty accurately and chillingly. Quote, WandaVision's helicopters and Humvees were most likely provided free of charge by the U.S. government. Of course, this equipment isn't actually free. The American public is effectively paying Hollywood to create propaganda that aims to sugarcoat the crimes of its military and intelligence apparatuses. Funding that could be used for disaster relief and healthcare is being used to recruit young people to die and kill in other countries for the sake of corporate interests.
Yeah.
Woo.
Well, and that's like, because I did the World War II propaganda a few weeks ago, and I mean, it's the same. That's like where it started was, you know, the U.S. military going through editing scripts, having these deals with Hollywood, and then, you know, I don't know, it's just continued and gotten worse, it seems like, because now they will, like, willingly give their equipment to these movies to use for free and be like, but you can't, you know, say anything that we don't like.
Yeah.
Which, again, seems like censorship to me, but I don't know.
But maybe
for all
I'm
you
crazy.
like right-wing free speech motherfuckers.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly, though.
yeah.
Ugh. And according to an article from Youth in Policy by Lily Fox, another Disney Plus X Marvel TV show, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is funded by the Pentagon and features the bad guys as people who believe the world is better off without borders.
Oh, I wonder who they could be. Oh,
Interesting.
so, what a conundrum. What a thought. Yeah. Oh, my.
Yikes. So why is any of this bad? Well, I think that the Guardian quote sums it up pretty best. We, the citizens of the United States, are the ones who fund our government and our military. Our hard-earned money, which is taken away from us in the form of taxes, is being used to fund not only the military, not just to fund defense strategies or the so-called aid we provide in other countries, but is literally being used to make fucking movies. And if that's not already bad enough, these movies are literally propaganda to continue the brainwashing that America runs on. We fund our very own nationalist propaganda, feed it to our children, advertise it ourselves every time we talk about these movies on social media or in social situations, and in turn convince more people to join the imperialist machine that is the U.S. military. All of this is packaged up in a nice, innocent-looking 2 to 3 hour package that's seen as a fun evening at the movies and a politics-absent, silly superhero movies. And as innocent as it all may seem, we do need to be taking a deeper look into why our country is being funded, or is behind funding these movies, and what they stand to gain from it. It's important for us to scrutinize the media we consume in order to be sure that we're not joyfully taking part in the brainwashing the U.S. military wants to feed us. Next time a TV show or movie uses military equipment, let's think about what the Pentagon may have added or subtracted from that script. Next time you're at the movies and a literal commercial for our military airs beforehand, brace yourself for the propaganda you're about to consume. And maybe this all seems a little silly or even heavy-handed, but what else did we expect from a franchise with a movie literally called Captain America?
Yeah. Very true. Was that it? Was that Finn?
That's it, Finn.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting too, because it's like, I feel like and we've seen it throughout like certain eras of American history where like pro-war sentiment has gotten, or sorry, I should say anti-war sentiment has gotten to the point where like people are just mad and they're like, hey, maybe our military shouldn't be doing this, like
Right.
in fucking Vietnam and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, not only do they want us to like pay for the propaganda we're feeding ourselves, but they want us to, again, be fucking programmed to be like, oh, well, the military is good all the time and is, you know, not all heroes wear capes. It's, you know, the military, it's a bunch of heroes. And it's like, not to say that there aren't people who do heroic things that may be in the military, but the machine itself is fucking an imperialist piece of shit.
Exactly. And when you like combine commercials for this like machine along with this superhero movie that is like so black and white, good guys, bad guys, and like look at all the amazing things these good guys are doing, your brain like associates the two, and then you're like, oh yes, military good. Yeah,
and that's not even mentioning just all the like pro-Western, like, I mean, because again, Captain America and just the whole like Avengers squad and most of the people there, it's always like, I don't know, it's always just like Western ideals, Western culture that is always like heroic and, you know, out on top. And even if the villains aren't necessarily like other cultures per se, it's just always like the Western culture that's like in the right and winning, you know? Yeah. It's something.
It's intense.
Well, so kind of continuing that, I'm going to be talking about Vidjagams. Supramarocrat, if you will. But yeah, no, we're going to be talking about some video games. My title for this was Video Games Are, the letter R, Bad? ? So we'll find out. Before all you epic gamers get ready to light us up on fucking Twitter, hear what I have to say. So there's quite a few angles that we can look at as far as military propaganda in video games. But as is my brand, we're going to look at some of the history of military simulators first before we start mad ranting about Call of Duty.
Hell yeah, we love it.
Yeah. The first military training equipment was created in the 1920s, and it was a wood flight simulator that was developed by Edward Link. Link, like the Zelda character. Coincidence? So that was the first time that they had used something to like simulate. I guess it was a flight simulator, but like using it for military purposes. Then we jump up, and in the 1980s, BattleTech was a video game adopted by the U.S. military and implemented in the staff office training curriculum at the Army War College.
Wow.
I believe it was a strategy role-play game where one would run through simulated war games. This would go on to spawn a line of video games called Mech War, which was basically the same thing but with robots, because someone in the military was like, fuck yeah, that's sick, dude. We should definitely learn about that shit.
This is cool, but why not add some robots?
How about like big robots that like you like get inside of, and then you control the robot, and then like the robot is you, but like you're inside of it, and then like you're fighting other robots.
Dude.
And I kind of feel like the military is just like a bunch of like the military is kind of just like a big government funded frat house sometimes. Where it's just like dudes being like, this is sick, dude.
It's like, so true.
It's funny. Throughout the 1980s, the Department of Defense and the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, aka DARPA, would lead the development of distributed interactive simulators that would virtually create a theater of war. The game Battlezone, released by Atari, was not only a graphical revolution, but also introduced the subcategory of first-person shooters into DARPA's radar. No pun intended. Nice. But yeah, so like they got first-person shooters here, which is of course like the games where you're like seeing through the eyes of the character and your gun's like right beneath you or whatever. TRADOC, or the United States Army Training and Doctoring Command leader Don A. Starry stated this in 1981. Today's soldiers have learned to learn in a different world, a world of television, electronic toys and games, computers, and a host of electronic devices. They belong to a TV and technology generation. So how is it that our soldiers are still sitting in classrooms, still listening to lectures, still depending on books and other paper reading materials, when possibly new and better methods have been available for many years. And this was in 1981.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like, and so, I mean, like, very early on in, like, the birth of, like, computers to begin with, but especially fucking video games and whatnot. But
yeah.
But again, I mean, military's always been kind of, like, top of the line technological-wise. Like, they have tech, but way before, like, the public knows about it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
In 1993, the first-person shooter Doom was released, if you're familiar.
Nope.
Doom is a game where you are a space marine that fights demons from hell.
Oh, wow.
And it sounds crazy, but it's actually quite fun. Would suggest 10 out of 10. Doom Eternal.
Okay.
Which again, someone saw in the military and said, "Holy shit, that's fucking sick." So they decided they needed it. So the Marine Corps Modeling and Simulation Office published a review saying that they loved the game and developed something called Marine Doom, which was Doom but changed to be military situations and used to train soldiers.
Which, like, it's not like it's the worst idea ever.
No, yeah.
But, like, I'm like, hey, man, books are still a good idea.
It's kind of dorky.
Yeah.
That's, like, what I'm saying here. Like, to be fair, obviously this didn't replace, like, live military training or anything, but it was used for to more illustratively tell new soldiers what to do in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
There was another game called Full Spectrum Warrior in 2004 that was also funded by the U.S. military to create real-life situations to potentially train soldiers with. It's just kind of wild to me that the actual U.S. military wants to train people using, like, a video game, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because of, like, the view that we have of video games now and, like, how kind of, like, crazy and over the top and popular they are.
Mm-hmm.
Just the U.S. military being like, play this game.
Yeah. Play Call of Duty to learn about.
I wrote here, so the next time your mom tells you that Call of Duty isn't real life, show her this episode of Remarks.
Exactly.
But you know what is real life?
Is this real life? David After Dentist. You remember that?
No.
You don't?
No, what is that?
It's this kid who's, like, high as fuck on whatever
Oh,
dentists
yeah,
give you.
like Anastasia?
Yeah, Anastasia.
Anesthesia.
Anastasia.
My
Anastasia is that Russian chick.
bad. Yeah, Tsar Nicholas's daughter.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he's, like, all high, and he's, like, in the back of his parents' car, and he's like, is this real life?
Yes, it is real life, and we are really going to ads.
Really gonna take an ad break.
Anyway,
ads.
Sorry to spring up on you so quickly, but we are back, if you weren't aware.
I wasn't.
We're back in the saddle again.
Yeehaw.
Back in black, as AC/DC would say. Exactly like that. Yeah, you're 100% correct. But yeah, so you may be asking yourself, Phoebe, the U.S. military in video games, that's crazy.
What?
Exactly. How many games has the U.S. military funded of this specific game franchise that Taylor's about to talk about right now?
That's exactly the question that was coming out of my mouth.
Exactly. And I will tell you, the U.S. military has now funded over 41 versions of the game America's Army from 2002 to 2014. And anyone inclined who has a gaming computer can go to Steam, which is a online gaming website.
That one I do know.
Yeah.
I know that little gaming factoid.
And download this game for free. It's a free-to-play game. And play a game funded and influenced by the actual U.S. government. I personally do not have a gaming computer, but I did watch some gameplay footage of the game myself, and thought it looked pretty mid. It was pretty whatever.
That sounds right. I feel like I wouldn't expect it to not be mid.
Yeah, it is pretty funny, like, because you know how there's, like, the red barrel trope in video games where, like, if you shoot a red barrel, it's going to explode, like it's a gas barrel.
I didn't know.
Oh, well, if you see a red barrel in, like, a shooting video game and you shoot it, it's probably going to explode.
Okay.
That's, like, the thing, and that also happens in the government-funded U.S. military game. If you shoot a red barrel, they explode.
Wow.
So top-of-the-line realism here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this brings us to more modern gaming. The popular game franchise Call of Duty is one of the most successful first-person shooters around.
Woo, woo, woo.
And though the games were never completely historically accurate, they did seem to hold more respect for the military and the World War II battles it was depicting back when it was first created.
Wait. You're telling me that zombie Nazis is not historically accurate?
I do have to break this to you.
Damn it.
The Nazis were never zombies. But it is a very fun mode to play in Call of Duty Black Ops. So as we've discussed before, it's easy to depict America, England, and even Russia as the good guys in World War II because we were fighting literal Nazis. And I say even Russia just because, like, obviously they wouldn't depict Russia as the good guys for long after that. But a lot of times, you know, communist Russia was portrayed as the good guys in World War II. However, as COD would plunge into more modern conflicts, they would continue to promote this America or the West as morally correct in all we do kind of a thing.
Yeah.
They would create fictional Middle Eastern dictators to have you fight against, and again, it was all fictitious, but it was very much posed as like the Western powers correct.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they kind of created fictitious Middle Eastern villains in real life too. Like,
yeah. But yeah, and especially like if we dive into like the Call of Duty Black Ops game, which is set during the Cold War, you're basically playing as like a operative who has been brainwashed by the Russians to kill JFK.
What?
That's like, we should get on our Twitch channel that I did set up, and we'll play through that game.
Yes.
We'll play it on easy or something.
Yeah.
But that's
that's
the plot of the game. And then you have to like fight back, and there's like the big set pieces and stuff, but and then it like kind of at the end it like makes you like, so at the end of the game you like beat the bad guys or whatever. But then there's like this photo of like the JFK, like the day that he was assassinated when he was in the fucking car. And then your character is like photoshopped into the photo, implying that you murdered JFK.
What the fuck?
No,
that's so crazy.
Dead ass what happens. Yeah, so which like again is maybe like not military propaganda, but also it is because like I don't know, you like have this, you're like in a gulag in one part of it, like there's like a bunch of stuff that happens. So
they're like low key suggesting the Russians killed JFK.
Exactly. Like through brainwashing you as the character, for sure. Yeah, so that's kind of the gist. But yeah, so I'm not one of those people who believes that art, even in video game form, has to particularly be like censored to be fair and balanced, or even historically accurate to a degree. I think art can truly be whatever the artist wants it to be, and obviously COD at being Call of Duty, sells millions of copies every year. But I do think there's a conversation to be had about the never-ending barrage of like Middle Eastern and Eastern European enemies that line up for you to shoot in the head. And I actually want to get your thoughts on the issue because on one hand, you can make whatever kind of game you want, but similarly to some of the movies that you were talking about, at what point does it become propaganda that is just desensitizing us to the crimes and the not so nice and shiny history of the U.S. and military? Because it's like again, like there's nothing stopping you from making a pro-U.S. military like game or movie. It's just not correct.
Right, yeah.
And it's like when they're trying to like feed it to you as though it is accurate is almost when like the issue arises, I feel.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like a morality issue, I guess.
Yeah, and I feel like that comes along with as well like looking at how, like, I guess racial stereotypes or, like, nation stereotypes are portrayed in these movies, like the way that, like, the Middle East is often portrayed, and, like, and not just Marvel movies, but, like, a lot of fucking movies is, like, these, like, nasty guys who like live in the desert and are all terrorists, and, like, and, like, looking at how, like, all Russians are portrayed in movies and things like that. Like, I think when it gets to that kind of level where it's, like, an obvious, like, hey, this nation is the bad one, and it's, like, what do they call it? Like a racist caricature almost.
Yeah, like stereotype, I guess.
Then, like, I think that's when you take issue, because you look at, too, I mean, that's how we got the Holocaust, like, was this racist caricature of Jewish people, and people consuming it as media, and then eventually believing that to be the truth.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, I think that's a good point as well, because in a lot of those games, you are fighting. Again, you're fighting in fucking Vietnam. You're fighting in the Cold War. You're fighting in, you know, modern Middle Eastern conflicts. And I'm sure that the way they depict those cultures aren't accurate.
Right.
And again, if you're playing every single Call of Duty game and you're always fighting the Middle East and you're always fighting the Eastern Europe and you're always in these conflicts, I just feel like eventually that's going to rub off on you in a somewhat negative way.
Yeah. And it's definitely just another piece of, like, convincing us that, like, our military is always right and everybody else is wrong. Like, as if we're not getting enough of that from just, like, school, then it's like, hey, the thing you do when you get home to chill out after school is, like, also telling you the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't believe that, like, violent video games make people violent, except in some very, like, rare one-off cases. But they usually have, like, other factors at play. But I do think that similarly to the military's portrayal in movies, it is a way for American exceptionalism to creep into the minds of young, impressionable audience. The rating on the box might say M for mature, but if you've ever been in a COD or Battlefield or even Halo lobby, like game lobby, you know that kids are playing these games.
Yeah.
Like, you
know you're gonna get called a homophobic slur by, like, a 12-year-old.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna get 360 no scoped by some fucking 8-year-old, and then he's gonna call me a slur, like, and then I'm gonna be like, fuck. Oh, it happens all the time. Another aspect of military shooters that many people don't think about is gun licensing. Video games have long held contracts and agreements with gun manufacturers, maintaining a kind of symbiotic relationship. Video games get to look realistic and boast about having realistic gun models and animations, while gun companies get basically free advertising for their products. There may not even be any money exchanged in these deals, but favors and, again, mutually beneficial relationships has kept these industries close. I will say, however, there does seem to be some pushback from some game developers about the freedom to depict a real-world gun in an artistic form, but that's not too prevalent to our discussion today. But yeah, so, like, they've had this, like, licensing and stuff that they've done with gun companies for a long time, like either paying them money to use their property in the game, which, again, some people are pushing back on because they're like, well, how do you, like, if a writer writes a, you know, machine gun into his story, it's, you don't have to, like, pay copyright for it.
Right,
but, like, do
true.
you with a video game? Like, that's the argument, but...
Yeah. Well, and it definitely does very much pay off because, like, I don't know, people are always like, oh, there's M2 flippity-flu in this game.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, like, and that's the funny thing, too, is I feel like a lot of people, they, like all these guns, but I don't feel like very many of them actually shoot guns.
Yeah.
It's like guns aren't, like, as easy to shoot as it looks in Call of Duty. Like, they fucking jam. Like, there's a lot of issues that can happen with guns. You know,
can't
like,
just pull the right to upper right button thing.
Well, and it's just, I don't know, it's just funny, I guess. And not to be, like, boomer humor here, but, like, you don't run around picking up guns off the floor and using them to fight enemies whenever you've run out of ammo. Like, maybe if you run out of ammo in a situation, but it's like you're not ever gonna, like, fight that many people that you're running out of ammo in your gun. Like, I don't know, it's just funny. But I also am not in the military, so
True.
Ex-military people.
So what do you
let
know?
us know. True. I don't know anything.
Maybe there is guns with like a little like glowing thing around them that it's like, hey, over here.
And then you push like Y on your hand, and it like swaps your gun for you. Yeah. Now, Phoebe, you may be asking yourself as an individual, what is the military up to today?
Yes.
As far as gaming goes. And would you believe me if I told you that the military has its own professional gaming team? Would you believe?
Oh, God.
Would you believe that?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I'm upset, but it makes sense.
The U.S. Army started its first esports team in 2018 as part of the broader Marketing and Engagement Brigade of the DoD, Department of Defense, which, like the fact that the military has a marketing department, first of all,
exactly
terrifying.
Exactly.
Who are you? Like, you're marketing the military.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Like, you like come die, basically. Like,
come die.
Like, it's insane.
Well, yeah, that was like the person who worked for the Air Force. That was their like marketing campaign director or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah, exactly. It's
why do you need that?
Why? It's crazy.
Why are we advertising for the fucking military?
Yeah. Not only is the military using games to encourage recruitment, but also they advertise directly on Twitch, which is the largest video game streaming website in the world currently. Which you can stream other things on Twitch, but like video games are primarily what are streamed. This means that even if you're not the one playing the game, you could still be getting recruited by the military just through watching someone else play a game. So even if you know, and I think this is a big thing too, like even if you're not, like, your parents don't buy you the violent video game, are they monitoring what you're watching on Twitch and YouTube?
Right.
Because you could be getting advertised to there. U.S. Representative and Epic Gamer AOC had this to say about it. But AOC, I have heard, does play video games.
I saw she did like a stream where I think she was like playing Among Us or something.
Yeah, she did, yeah.
Fucking relatable girly girl.
But she did say children should not be targeted in general for many marketing purposes in addition to military service. Right now, currently, children on platforms such as Twitch are bombarded with banner ads linked to recruitment sign-up forms that can be submitted by children as young as 12 years old. These are not education outreach programs for the military. And she was attempting to pass a bill that would stop this kind of advertising from happening, but it did not get passed, I don't believe.
Yeah, sounds right.
Sounds about right. But
I mean, go off, queen.
I don't necessarily have any issues with AOC. I think she's like the most progressive candidate we have right now, you know? Or like candidate or like representative. I mean, again, be cool if she was more progressive,
yeah.
but like I don't have any like, I don't think she's as bad as like Joe Biden.
No, hell no.
I think she's got at least like a rational head on her shoulders.
Yeah.
Some game developers are beginning to see and understand what the military is trying to do with video games and simulations. Unity is a company who has produced a game engine, which is basically tools to create a game and run a game. So they call it like an engine. So like how you build a game on top, like with an engine. Mm-hmm. The company has a partnership with the DoD, which lets huge defense contractors use the game engine, and the employees don't really get a say in what the tools that they've developed are being used for. So you know, they've like built this engine. The DoD can sell a contract to a foreign government, a private military, to take this engine and build some kind of simulator on top of it, whether that's, you know, again, flight simulator, combat simulator, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And again, the employees at Unity don't get any say in this because it's all the company that's making these deals.
Right.
Unity was contacted 3 times in 2020 and had contracts that were $428,000, $220,000, and $23,500.
Woof.
So like we're talking big money contracts here. And it's possible that the tools are being used by the DoD for training purposes and that have completely pure intentions, but it's also possible that they are not.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, once the DoD gets that they can, again, sell it to whoever they want.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, I believe that though the video game industry faces different challenges and has a different relationship with the military and the government than movies do, the propaganda is being fed just as strongly and in some ways more intensely because of the core demographic of people who games are designed and marketed to.
True.
I think that, like, similarly to how Captain Marvel was very much marketed at, like, young women to join the military, I think that video games have been doing that with young men for quite a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And especially because it's like this, they have this veil of, like, well, you get to be a badass if you join the military,
Exactly.
right? Like, you get to do the things you're doing in the game. And I think everybody kind of knows that it's not, like, exactly the same, obviously.
Yeah, but
it's still that allure of, like, oh, you, like, you're into video games, you're into guns. Maybe you know some of the guns from your video game. Maybe you start getting more into that. Maybe the military is the next step for you to get more into that.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, they
very
literally
much-
even measure your, like, kill count.
Oh, yeah, I mean. And that's just, you just want to know if you're killing it or not.
Yeah.
Literally.
Which it's like, there's not like a huge problem with that, but I think when it's like paired with all of these other things, as well as like the advertising that the military itself does, it's like, hey, maybe you, the military, should kind of think about like the fact that there's like, you measure a kill count and that's how you win the game.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And that's the thing is, like, I play video games, like I love hopping on a video game with a homie and fucking rocking people's shit. It's
Totally.
fun. Or getting my shit rocked by an 8-year-old.
Yes.
It's fun and I like it, but I think that a big thing too is that, like, these stories that are written for these games, because there's always like the multiplayer where you're fighting other people online, and then there's the story mode where you can play by yourself.
Right.
The stories are always written, again, to be very pro-Western, pro-American society, America being the world's superpower kind of vibes. And, again, I don't think it's the game's fault. I think it's who's creating the games and the fact that they know who they're marketing to. And, if you make a game that's going to be anti-America, I just don't think it's going to sell very well.
Right.
Like,
right. Yeah.
Even if it's not, like, directly influenced by the military, like, it's just not going to sell.
Yeah. Didn't you say there was some kind of like Karl Marx app where you would like fight like
I don't know.
capitalists or something?
Well,
Was that a thing?
there is some mobile games called Adventure Communist and Adventure Capitalist. So it's the two. You can play both of them. Yeah. Oh, and another part that I missed, I just realized I went over it, so I'm going to circle back really quick. There was a Call of Duty writer named Dave Anthony who wrote and produced the Call of Duty Advanced Warfare game, which took place in the future and made the player like a futuristic military super soldier of sorts. And actually, he was approached by the Department of Defense and asked to give consultation on potential future threats to our country. He basically joined a defense think tank to help stop real future military threats because he worked on a Call of Duty game that was set in the future.
The fuck?
It's unhinged, yeah. And that's the thing, like they're very closely tied together.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, propaganda everywhere.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah. Great country we've got.
It's a good one. And you can't like, and that's the thing too, is like it's gotten to the point where like if you try to say anything negative about the military, like on the internet, or I mean even with just like most regular people, like you will be like people like will self-police you on that. Like the government doesn't even have to like crack down on negative speech about it. Like people will be mad at you for like pointing out like real flaws with the military.
Right.
Like, it's crazy.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, it's yeah, I don't know. It's like again, you don't even have to like hate the military to like understand that there's flaws with it, you know? I don't know.
But it's like you say anything that's like slightly critical and people are like, so you just want every soldier to fucking die then, huh?
Yeah. It's like, no,
like,
I didn't
that's
say
not
that.
what I said. What I said is the military machine is doing bad stuff, probably.
Yeah. Do we have to be meddling in all these other countries that elect socialist leaders democratically?
Maybe that's not a good thing for us to be doing.
It's good. It's good as well as cool. But yeah, that's all I have.
Fabulous.
Do we want to...
Eye-opening.
Truly inspirational.
Very inspirational.
Yeah. Do we want to plug some pluggies?
Let's plug them in. Plug them in. Plug them in.
Plug them in.
As a candle company once said in a commercial.
No free advertisements.
No free advertisements. Finger guns to the mic. Candle company, if you're listening. If you want to check out our Instagram, you can go to @Remarks Podcast on Instagram. If you would like to, I forgot what our other social media thing is. Yeah, TikTok. If you'd like to see a couple of TikToks, you can go to our TikTok at the same handle, @Remarks Podcast. Taylor, where the fuck can I tweet?
So there's this little website, you may have heard of it. It's called twitter.com.
Okay.
You can find us at @RemarksPod on there. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
Please.
Because that would be cool of you.
It'd be very tight.
Be pretty chill if you did, actually.
Pretty dope. Nasty.
Cash money, believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
And then... don't forget to check out my YouTube channel. It's called The Lefty Agenda. I'm actually going to be uploading a video soon. Just finished the script for it. It's about another book. So if you like books, check it out.
Taylor be reading.
I always be reading. And then huge thank you to our patrons. We have Justin Vass, the beautiful boy himself.
We have Emily Doran, this sexy human being.
Sexy human being they are. And then Andrew Vass. Thank you so much.
He's also pretty sexy.
Also pretty sexy, yeah.
Please subscribe to our Patreon if you so wish. It's $5 a month. We got some fucking funny ass bonus apps up there. Sure. We also have stickers for sale, you bitches.
Sure.
One measly little $1 each, and you get a sick ass sticker, and your pussy gets 6 times thicker and wetter, and your Bucci also
gets 6 times thicker and wetter.
Yeah, and like wider and
for sure.
Yeah, so
deeper.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And if you subscribe to the Patreon, you get 2
free.
I mean, 2 stickers. I guess they're not free because you're subscribing to the Patreon.
That's true.
But you get 2 stickers as a gift there. So, and then all the bonus episodes.
Exactly.
And ad-free episodes if you like that.
That too. So it's a pretty good deal. So yeah, that's that. So thanks for listening, and
Love you. Bye.